It's time for another Dice Tower review with the Game Boy Geek.
Hello my friends, it's the Game Boy Geek here. Today, you are going to be in one of two rooms and you're going to be on one of two teams. If you're on the blue team, you're going to be trying to protect the president. If you're on the red team, you're going to be trying to bomb the president. Now, this is a social deduction game that can be played from 6 to 30 players, 2 rooms and a boom from Tuesday Night Games. This has gotten kickstarted and it's almost on its way, ready to be brought to its backers now. Over 70 unique character roles that you can mix in and out, lots of different variants. So let's take a look. I'll show you how it's played. I'll see you on the other side. Here's the most basic setup for, say, a 10-player game of rooms, 2 rooms and a boom. We have a red team, a blue team. In this case, we have 4 cards on the blue team that just says blue team. And then we have the president, which is the player that the blue team is trying to protect. The red team has 4 cards here that say just red team, and then they have the bomber. This is the person they're trying to get in the room with the president. This game is going to get played with this many players over 3 rounds. In between the 3 rounds, people are going to be exchanging rooms and such. And what happens is the red team wins if the bomber is in the same room as the president at the end of the 3rd round. The president and the blue team will win if the president and the bomber are in different rounds different rooms at the end of the last round. That's how the game's played. What will happen is these people will split up into 2 different rooms, and these cards will get completely shuffled together. The red team, the blue team, the president, the bomber, they'll get spread out, and each player will get a card. So one room might have a distribution that looks like this. They might have 2 red teams, 2 blue teams, and a bomber. Wow, it's even. And then the other team might have 2 red teams, 2 blue teams, and a president. It's going to be completely random because all these get shuffled in. Now, once they're split up, each room is going to appoint a leader. Someone points to somebody, points to a leader, and if the majority agrees, that player will be the leader of that room for now. Now, within 6 to 10 players, what's going to happen is there's going to be 3 rounds. The first round is going to be 3 minutes, second round's 2 minutes, the last round is 1 minute. At the end of each round, each leader is going to send 1 hostage to the other room. And the way this works is each of the 2 leaders will walk out to the middle of the hallway, they'll make sure they're both there, and then they'll call their hostage out and they'll swap them at the same time. And then they'll start their next round. Now the leader itself can either give up his leadership to someone else that wants it, or they can get overruled. If somebody at any time at the time can point at that person and say, I'm voting for a new leader, I want this person over here. And if it's a majority, the person becomes a new leader and takes this there. And that's how pretty much the game works. And again, at the end of the 3rd round, if the president's in the room with the bomber, the red team wins, the bomber team, and if the president's separated from the bomber, the blue team, the president wins. Now, what happens when everybody's in the room and they're talking? Well, with 10 or less players cannot do what's called a color share, which is just show this. But if you can go up to somebody, you could say, hey, do you want to show me your card? If they say yes, then you both have to agree to show each other your card. With more than 10 players, you can do what's called a color share, which is you can go up to someone and say, want to share colors? And they say yes. And you just go like that, and they know that you're good. And then the other player might go, oh, okay, we're both good. We can show each other a card. Maybe. In this basic game, there's no crazy rolls, but in the advanced games, we'll show you the rolls later that might be something different. Now this shows you how many players that you can play up to 30, and this shows you the different number of rounds. With more players, you're supposed to play, you're better off playing more rounds, 5 minutes, 4 minutes, 3 minutes, 2 minutes, 1 minute for the extra rounds with more players, and more hostages go out. Now there's also what's called a gray team. They're a neutral team. If you have an uneven amount of players, you can make the red and blue team even and have the gambler. And what the gambler does is at the end of the last round, he will say which team he thinks he's going to win, the red or the blue team, and if that team wins, he wins. If not, he doesn't. He has a separate winning condition. And then maybe if you want to mix things up, you can just throw some more neutral teams in there. For example, this is the mistress and the wife, and notice some of these cards say linked with the wife goes with the mistress. So it tells you which cards kind of go with each other in a game. And this is interesting because if you're the wife, you need to be with the president at the end, but avoid the mistress. If you're the mistress, you need to be with the president, but avoid the wife. So some interesting things here, and there are a lot of roles, even for the gray team. There are handfuls of roles that you can throw in so that the replayability value of this is awesome. Now here's just some cool roles. Now there's a ton of them in this game. Here's just a few of them. Your security. You can once per game show everybody this card, and you can tackle one person, metaphorically, and they can't leave the room. Now this is only once per game, but it's pretty powerful. The bouncer. If you're in a room that has more people than the other room, you can bounce them and tell them to move to the other room. Shy guy. No sharing or revealing because you're shy. Now this is interesting because you could just claim to be the shy guy because you don't want to show your card because you might be the president, so it casts suspicion on you or anybody claiming to be the shy guy. The con man. If you get ready to do a color share with somebody, you tell them you're the con man, you show it to them, and they have to show you their entire card. So you kind of con them into seeing your whole card. The clown. You just always smile because it's impossible not to have fun when you're smiling. You are the blue spy. So this is actually a red card. So when you color share, people are going to think that you're on the red team, but in reality, you're on the blue team. So you could show people red, try to get information out of the red team, but you're really working for the blue team. That's one of my favorites. You're the agent. You can force a card share. You can make go up to someone and say, I'm the agent, here's my card, you have to show me yours, things like that. Those are some of the different roles you can mix in. Now, in addition to the rulebook, there is a character guide that comes with the game. This guide has all the characters that you could possibly be, and it has them in alphabetical order. It tells you which ones have to be linked up with which ones. It shows you all about them. It shows you when to use them and when not to use them, which is a good little thing there. So, I mean, you can go through and pick and choose which ones you want. There are, as you can see, there's a ton of roles in this game. And this one works well for first-time players, or it can bore experienced players. That's, just there's no ones. Some say, hey, don't use this one if you're less than 10 people. It just gives you some ideas of what it's going to make the game more or less of. And this is just a really good guide to get there. At the end, there's a little 2 to 5 player game, Dr. Boom. But again, here's the guide for all the rules that you can see. All right, well, there's 2 rooms and a boom. Obviously, from that overview, it's going to be really hard to get a feel for what does the game really feel like. I'm a huge fan of social deduction games. I love The Resistance, I love Resistance Avalon, I love One Night Ultimate Werewolf, I love Mayday Mayday. Those are some of my favorites. Where does this one fit in with all those? I think this is a very fun game. It's different, it's unique. We played it at Dice Tower Con a ton, and we played with different player counts. This is one of those games that I'm going to keep because I think this is like a perfect convention game. I personally think it plays best between like 15 and 20 people. It's a good middleweight thing there. It's a lot of fun. Now, most of the people, the first time you play it, it's going to feel maybe a little weird because you won't really know what to do. And the characters, maybe you just play the basic guys really at the beginning just to get sort of the mechanics of how the game works down, and then you can slowly add in the characters. Now, it's a very quick game if you just play the 3 rounds, right? It's like 7 minutes long. With more players, you're probably going to want to play more rounds because it gives you more time. Another thing is, when you play this game, if you're experienced and you're going to be playing with the players that aren't experienced, you're probably going to start with those roles, and it's going to be kind of a pain in the butt to play with those boring roles, or no roles, and bring everybody up to speed. This is one of those games that's, I think, really shines when you play with the same group multiple times in a row. So you're not going to just play this game for 7 minutes and be done and play something else. This is going to be one of those games you're going to play it once, and you want to play it again, and again, and again, and again, and again. And before you know, you've been playing for over an hour, and that's probably how this is going to go. And that's good because even if you mix in or lose some people, you start building in what's happened before, you start adding all those roles, and it really is something that matures into something that's really, really excellent, I think. So I love social deduction games. Gosh, 70 roles. I don't know when I'll play all 70, but I can tell you now that I'm already happy with just playing with the ones that we've already played with. I'm in no rush to go out and start mixing in all sorts of things. I like to give you the character guide that helps you figure out which roles are good with others, which ones are linked. I do wish that they would have put in the character guide like, hey, if you've already done the basic game and you want to take the next step, here's like 1 or 2 different games that mixes in some different roles that work well together for beginners. That's like the next step. Otherwise, you're just diving into something that might be really confusing, that might have some different interactions going on. But I do like in the character guide, they tell you which ones are better for this. If you do this, it's negative for that, and things like that. And I like how there's a lot of different variants between burying cards and different player counts and different timing, different amount of rounds. So it's very open. It's one of those games that can be quite customizable to your group. The cards, they're super slippery. When you take out the wad of cards, they go everywhere. But that's good because they're actually, I think they're plastic, and because you're going to be holding them the whole game a lot of times, like this, because you're going to be like color sharing. And so they can take a beating and they can take sweaty palms, because your palms will be sweaty when you're playing this game. And it's very interesting, it's unique, it's quite different. It's not like anything else I've ever really played before. But if you're looking for a game that's like Werewolf-ish, where it's better with a big group, you play it at conventions, but you don't want a moderator, you don't want player elimination, this is going to be the go-to game for that, I think, from now on. The first couple times you play it, it might feel weird, it might feel awkward, you won't really know what to do. It's just kind of weird. You go around trying to figure out what people want, and most people the first few times they play this go, it's weird, but I kind of like it. And as the plays went on, people are like, oh, I'm really liking this. So give it a shot, give it a chance. It's going to take a few plays for you to really start to settle in, and you'll probably have to reset and do that with every group you play with. But once you get a group of people that all know how to play it, or once you've played 3 or 4 times with that same group and you get things going, it can really kick into high gear and be a lot of fun with a lot of replayability value. Good social deduction game, but better with a lot of players. This is a great convention game, great for gamers. I'm not so sure I'd be able to play this, I think, I'd say if I just bring this to work and get a big group together, I'd probably still be easier to play Werewolf than this, because just between the theming and all the different roles and such, I think the roles really is what makes this, where you could just play vanilla Werewolf and have fun. So this is kind of a niche where it's large groups, gamers, conventions, awesome, every time. Other than that, I'm not so sure when I would play it, but that's 2 Rooms and a Boom.
Thanks so much for watching the Dice Tower videos. Find more great videos and reviews, as well as our top-rated audio podcast at Dicetower.com. You can also find other great shows at Dicetowernetwork.com. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower. The Dice Tower is sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc., where you can find great games for great prices. Cool stuff in stock. Check them out at CoolStuffInc.com.